Commuting in our own car is becoming more dangerous every day. And thanks to social media,
I've seen a lot of this on TikTok, and I feel like it's very important to talk about because it brings awareness to what's happening. And you always think that would never happen to me until it happens to you.
chilling footage is constantly shared of what looks to be danger lurking in the shadows.
This is the third morning in a row I found one of these on her car in the exact same spot.
But are these just pranks? Overdramatic storylines?
I'm curious if this is a real threat. Have you experienced this? Or if you're law enforcement, have you heard any reports of this?
This is a fantasy fear-mongering scenario that's vastly overplayed.
Or are these eerie experiences too common to excuse as mere coincidence?
His dashboard camera recording Ivan Tukton was all alone on the turnpike's deserted Newark Bay extension Sunday night when the creepy encounter unfolded in an instant.
Another guy, 2 cars down from me, got out of his car and walked up to this man, and now there is 2 of them. I never saw the guy in the second car. That scares the absolute living daylights out of me.
Whether you're at work, running errands, or traveling,
someone tell me what this means. I have no clue WTF she is touching my plates.
Social media and law enforcement are sounding the call.
He's been in law enforcement his whole life, and you could tell when I mentioned that he got extremely silent. And he said, "What'd you just say?"
Deputies are warning people not to immediately approach their cars if they see some randomly placed money.
That you may want to double check your vehicle before you decide to drive straight home.
You are very, very lucky. This happens a lot.
Let's take a look at innocent things you may see on, under, or around your car that may not be so innocent after all, and learn what you should do in similar situations. There's a new hazard on the road, and it doesn't come in the form of black ice, potholes, or 4-way stops. In fact, it's only when drivers unlock their doors, roll down their windows, or exit their vehicles that this unseen risk comes out to play. If you've been online lately, you've likely heard the stomach-turning stories of the traps that can allegedly turn a simple excursion in your car into a fight for your life.
I just came to Walmart, and I pulled up, and this car is parked here, and the door is open. Nobody is in the car. The door is open.
And with paranoia for solo female drivers at an all-time high, it's no wonder that some have linked the dangers loitering in parking lots and on roadsides across America to the most notorious criminal trade of the past decade.
Immediately when I got in the car, I knew something was off.
Oklahoma City police have announced 5 more arrests in connection to the missing Texas teen found safe in Oklahoma City.
Like you see, there's kids playing here, and we never thought that these really things were going on.
It's nice to be able to say, well, we should have seen this a lot sooner, but I can tell you, this is happening in every community, someplace, somewhere.
I told them I didn't want to work in that. I didn't want to do that.
This organized criminal enterprise was nothing short of modern-day slavery.
Trafficking in persons, the growing underground criminal industry that profits off the sale of people, especially women and children.
Traffickers know no limits and will find victims anywhere.
And according to rumors circulating online, traps set in parking lots, pit stops, and roads are just the latest way these criminals are forcibly recruiting targets into the trade. But if this is true, how are these traps being laid? Picture this. It's Sunday morning, just after midnight, and you're driving on a dark, desolate New Jersey turnpike when you encounter 2 pylons and a pulled-over vehicle on your horizon, a traffic stop. Or at least that's what 24-year-old Ivan Tukton assumed when he came to a halt back in 2014. However, the third-year law student's initial impression quickly faded as a hooded figure stepped out of the darkness and towards his car.
What's going on? Can I help you with something?
Yes.
Then, the stranger reached into their pocket, and as Ivan's dash camera footage shows, the driver didn't stick around to see what would happen next. Flooring the gas, Ivan weaved through the cones and sped away before eventually pulling over to inform law enforcement of the situation.
There is a car on the side of the road with 2 cones that were in the middle of the street.
So what had Ivan stumbled upon in those early morning hours? Well, it appeared to be a fake roadblock, something the 24-year-old wouldn't have been the first to fall victim to.
They're
coming! They're coming! They're coming! I'm gonna hit the ground! What? There's more people!
And according to the logic of the internet and experts, Ivan had done the right thing.
If you see someone in distress, whether it's on the side of the road or they're asking you for help, keep the windows up, the doors locked.
By the time police responded to Ivan and another concerned driver's call, the cones were gone. The two men behind the fake stop, however, were still there. And while the suspects told officers they'd run out of gas, the way they were allegedly attempting to flag down help with pylons was deemed inappropriate and dangerous. Both men were arrested, one for DWI and the other for hindering. Still, what exactly had Ivan feared might happen on the dark, empty road that morning? Well, according to what he told ABC7, he wasn't sure. And that's exactly what made the encounter so unsettling.
You read about this stuff on the internet, people impersonating police, could have been a hijacking, could be a robbery.
Of course, some have used fake roadblocks for other purposes, including pranksters who are known to set up traffic traps to throw eggs and rocks at stopped cars.
Very silly behaviour by kids who probably don't realise the dangers that are involved in vehicles stopping on highways.
But while these fake stops are often shrugged off as practical jokes, anything that can potentially force drivers outside of their vehicles can easily be put to more sinister uses. And traffic traps aren't the only diversion that can leave drivers vulnerable. TikTok user Anna was in a parking garage when she noticed the addition of something new on the roof of her car.
What the is that? What is this? What is this? Y'all, I don't know what it is, but it's kind of cute. So I'm keeping it. It's mine now.
A happy surprise, or so the TikTok user thought. However, when Anna posted her find, a friend reached out to warn her that this tactic was allegedly being used to distract drivers and provide an opening for abduction.
I thought about it and I was like, holy, like, you're right. You can hear a group of girls walking past me. So I wasn't alone at that exact moment, but 5 minutes later, 5 minutes earlier, like, I was walking out of work.
And if it's not the roof of a vehicle that can allegedly be tampered with, it's the windshield.
Well, a young woman's Facebook post is now going viral for an incident she recently experienced, which she says was an attempted kidnapping.
Just like Anna, this woman was leaving work when she noticed something on her front window, a shirt. But looking at her surroundings, which included 2 suspicious vehicles, she decided not to remove the top until she found a safe location. A good decision for anyone that might find themselves in a similar situation. And the driver's worry wasn't just instinct. She'd allegedly heard a warning that this trick had been used for kidnapping.
The abductor puts the shirt there, so you get out of the car, you have to remove the item from your windshield, they can come up behind you, kidnap you potentially.
And if a shirt doesn't entice drivers to leave the vehicles, another rumored criminal tactic might. On TikTok, one user caught an unknown man slipping a counterfeit $100 bill under her windshield wiper. And according to news outlets, this ploy wasn't just a one-time occurrence, but a trend.
Someone is putting counterfeit money under the windshield wipers of vehicles parked in driveways.
Still, the offer is tempting, and that's exactly what potential thieves are hoping for.
Becoming more and more popular because they know you're going to get out of your car to get that money, and then they are going to drive off with your car.
But sometimes it's not money on the windshield, it's a note. When TikTok user Kaylee left work around the holidays, she took a dark walk to her car located in the back of a parking lot.
I get in and I see a note on my windshield. And then I look over to my passenger side and there's suddenly a guy out there standing on my passenger side door. So I book it out of the parking lot.
When she got to a stop sign, she rolled down the window, grabbed the piece of paper,
and there was nothing on it.
So there it was, a chilling implication that didn't have to be written out. The paper wasn't placed there to be read. It was allegedly just a distraction. But these items left on vehicles aren't the only tactics social media has seen. TikToker Chrissy noticed a strange change to the outside of her Tesla and decided to check her dash cam to see if anything had happened. However, what the footage exposed provided more questions than answers. There in the video was a woman that Chrissy had never seen, circling her Tesla before reaching down to bend the vehicle's license plate. "Someone tell me what this means," Chrissy asked. "I have no clue why she is touching my plates." Another viewer was equally confused, but unlike the original poster, she had a theory.
Never got in a car accident ever. I've never hit anybody. But my car tag also didn't. So y'all think someone tagged me?
Tagging. According to social media, It's a way for this type of criminal organization to mark the drivers of certain vehicles for future abductions. And various TikTok users believe they spotted this tactic in the wild, as videos have reported strings, markings, and tape appearing on vehicles, under the assumption these criminals are placing it there.
I start seeing like other girls' cars in Renton, Washington with this blue tape. There's definitely somebody out here watching us.
But according to social media, one method of tagging seems to have caught on more than others, and that's zip ties.
What does this mean? What does that mean? Please elaborate.
You know what they say about these? I've heard a few things.
I was doing my multi-point inspection and I went to go inspect the rear windshield. Just want to notice this. And we contacted the owner, and the owner had no idea it was on her vehicle.
Numerous TikTok users have reported finding these plastic cables wrapped around their doors' handles, windshield wipers, and outside mirrors.
I'm eating, not even here for maybe 2 minutes, and this is what I see when I look up getting ready to pull out. There's magically just a black zip tie now suddenly on my windshield. So I skirted back to campus and I alerted the security gate, and the girl was like, bro, that's sus as that's happened to me too.
Including one father who noticed a zip tie on his daughter's car, not one morning, not 2 mornings, but...
This is the 3rd morning in a row I found one of these on her car in the exact same spot, back passenger door.
Still, it wasn't until the father spoke to his brother that he realized what the zip tie was rumored to signal.
He's been in law enforcement his whole life, and you could tell when I mentioned that he got extremely silent. And he said, "What'd you just say? Is this a tag?" And this alerts anyone who's part of the organization, I'll call it, let them know that that person is vulnerable, they are by themselves, and they're an easy target.
But it's not just what tagging could represent that social media warns should frighten drivers. See, before you remove an item from your car, you might want to grab some disinfectant, or better yet, gloves. After all, according to an allegation from Houston woman Erin Mims, touching a napkin that was wrapped around her car's handle led to unforeseen consequences.
2 minutes later, my fingertips started tingling. Then maybe after about 5 minutes, my whole arm just started tingling. Then it started to feel numb. I got lightheaded. I felt like I couldn't breathe.
Despite only touching the napkin with her fingernails, Erin believed she'd been poisoned.
They drove to the nearest hospital where doctors ran urine samples, blood tests, and CAT scans.
Doctor came in and he told me, it wasn't enough in my system to determine what it was, but it was acute poisoning from, an unknown substance.
And with that claim, the criminal organization was quickly added to the narrative.
So pretty much what happened was this scoped her out, waited for her to go inside from her car so he could put some sort of substance on her door handle. Most likely it was to put her to sleep so that he could kidnap her.
Yet, not every suspected scheme involving a vehicle uses tags,
If you know. We've all seen this.
chemicals,
You can't even go and get no gas. I told my job I can't even come in. I ain't chance. This is crazy.
or other gadgets.
We saw this. They saw a car with 2 car seats and marked it.
Sometimes, it's just a gut feeling that something is off.
This is a tag for trafficking, and the W in this case stands for woman, meaning me. And that little dot right there is representative of my one son that is with me almost all the time. It was very sneaky. I had to get just at the right angle to see this. It was very sneaky.
TikToker Kelly Jean was leaving the mall with her daughter in tow when something in the distance caught her off guard. A man standing next to her car taking a phone call.
And I was like, that's kind of weird.
And while Kelly hoped her approach would signal for the man to take his conversation elsewhere, he wasn't getting the hint. No, the stranger appeared perfectly at home next to her car, even taking the liberty of running his hand down the vehicle. So, as a protective measure, Kelly called her husband, and when he didn't answer, she did the only thing she could, faked a conversation.
Like, oh, I'm out in the parking lot. I saw you just checking out. We'll see you out here in a minute, just to make it seem like I wasn't alone.
But this act didn't ward the stranger off either.
He was now maybe a couple feet from me, but never said anything to me. So I circled around to the back side of my car, opened up the passenger side super quick, got my daughter in, shut the door, and got in my driver's side, and then shut the door.
That's when Kelly's husband called back and she frantically described her surroundings and the man in front of her who was continuing to overstep.
As he was standing there and I was on the phone with my husband, I watched him take a picture of my effing car. That about sent me.
And it turned out the stranger wasn't alone, as a man 2 cars down from Kelly joined the man.
I never saw the guy in the second car. That scares the absolute living daylights out of me for so many reasons. How long was he watching me?
The two had a brief exchange and then left, giving Kelly the opportunity to drive to the other side of the mall and do the best thing a person can do in the situation: inform mall security and dispatch.
Be aware of your surroundings and always protect yourself and listen to your gut instinct, because us as moms and women are usually always right.
And according to the response of one TikTok user, the actions Kelly took that day might have saved her from falling victim to kidnapping for forced labor or services.
You are very, very lucky. This happens a lot. They take you to the port, load you up on a shipping container, and now you're in another country. That's how they're disappearing these people.
Other women have used TikTok to report similarly uneasy situations, like an Arizona woman who noticed a truck trailing her in a mall parking garage all the way to her parking spot.
They pull right behind my car, block me in so I can't get out, and are literally like waving at me. They're literally waving like this with their windows down, both of them, and like saying something, and I don't know what they're saying.
Eventually, the truck stopped blocking her in and, to her horror, pulled into a spot near her vehicle. But when 2 men exited and began to approach her, she took that as her cue to go.
And so I literally like back my car up as like fast as I can and just like get out of there. And then like as soon as I do that, like they walk back like inside their truck.
Still, not every potential danger sets off immediate alarm bells. Sometimes these encounters appear entirely innocent until they aren't. In fact, even one potential victim was confused about what she'd experienced.
I believe there was an attempt made on me to human me. I don't know for sure, that's why I want to talk about it and see if maybe anybody knows if this is a tactic or what's up with it.
After leaving a gas station restroom in Las Vegas, this TikTok user saw a black SUV at the pump in front of her. 2 men and a woman exited the vehicle, and when the TikTok user passed them, she sparked some, well, unwanted attention.
The woman started calling to me. She was saying, "Hey beautiful, hey beautiful, hey beautiful." I just tried to ignore her, pretend like she wasn't there, but then I heard her getting louder. I turned around and she was about 5 feet from me. She had walked really close to me.
The woman had been following her, all seemingly to ask one pressing question.
She was smiling at me, and then she asked me if I liked perfume.
And if the TikTok user already felt uncomfortable, this question was a glaring red flag.
I had seen a TikTok video of a girl talking about how a woman approached her and asked her if she liked perfume, sprayed her with perfume, which turned out to be chemicals, maybe chloroform, and made the girl on TikTok pass out.
She shouted at the woman to get away, but it wasn't until the TikToker's husband got out of their parked car that the stranger seemed to get the message.
I turned to look back at the woman and she's gone. She's already across the whole entire gas station, back over with those 2 men near the car, and they're looking at us and talking about us, presumably.
If the TikTok user hadn't been with her husband that day, perhaps the incident would have gone differently. After all, if there's strength in numbers, being alone can present a vulnerability. Unfortunately for New Jersey resident Ashlyn, she was taking her early morning run solo when a Mercedes-Benz blew by her before slamming the brakes. And when Ashlyn passed by the passenger side of the car, which now had its door opened, she glanced in and made a bone-chilling discovery. Both the driver and person in the back seat were wearing ski masks.
The one in the back seat had it pulled to here so I could still see his smile. And he was smiling at me in a way that I literally will never erase from my mind.
To Ashlyn, it looked like they were about to say something to her, until she noticed the person in the passenger seat readying to lunge at her.
So when I realized, I just darted and sprinted across the street as fast as I could, and right away I called my boyfriend, let him know what happened.
Later, Ashlyn made the safe call to report the incident to law enforcement. However, little could be done.
The hard thing is they were actually in a stolen vehicle, so
for me to get camera footage of the car really won't do anything. The license plate wasn't theirs and won't match up to them.
But while many of these modern horror stories have been linked to these criminal organizations, does this conclusion hold any weight? While there's no question women have found strange objects on their cars and police have warned fake money on windshields might be a tactic for vehicle theft, the ties to actual cases of these crimes don't seem to exist outside of the theories on social media. Similarly, the use of tagging by these criminal rings is also unsubstantiated, and yes, that includes zip ties.
It's just a plain old black zip tie.
Right, it's just a zip tie. It does not indicate that anybody's at risk of being... I've been researching human for over 10 years, and I've never seen a single case involving zip ties.
We've not seen cases, and I have not received any complaints from individuals who have come across this.
As for the tale of the napkin with an alleged chemical on it, according to fact-checking site Snopes, aside from the police report, there's no evidence to corroborate the woman's story. The site also notes poisoning is typically done through inhalation or ingestion, not touch alone. In the end, it seems these claims about kidnapping for forced labor services often originate from social media or even trace back to decades-old folklore. In fact, while the TikTok user who was offered perfume at a gas station was rightfully uncomfortable, the tales of traffickers, robbers, and other criminals putting chloroform in perfume is an urban legend that traces back to the late 90s and has been continually debunked. And it turns out this isn't unusual. Another story that's being passed around TikTok involving criminals hiding under cars to injure the driver's ankles with a blade and render them defenseless actually comes from a legend first popularized in the 70s. Back then, the tale encapsulated the fears of serial SAs of the time. By the 90s, gang initiations had become a part of the story. And in modern times, well, trafficking serves as the big bad.
This is meant to pause you so that someone from underneath the car can your Achilles heel.
But to some, these virtual fables aren't just misleading, they're dangerous.
If you see money in your windshield, you need to run away fast. They're trying to get you.
No, they're not, and this is not how human works.
According to TikToker Abby, the misrepresentations of trafficking that have flooded social media through PSAs and scary stories blur the issue to the point that real trafficking can be unrecognizable.
I know there's no bad intentions behind this, but I do think this is probably the most harmful media that's put out there in terms of anti-trafficking efforts. Human does not look like some boogeyman skilled criminal hiding out in the bushes of a parking lot waiting to pounce on middle-class women through elaborate schemes with zip ties and cash on their cars. This is a fantasy fear-mongering scenario that's vastly overplayed, that completely overshadows how human actually works and makes the wrong people scared for the wrong reasons.
And it seems the TikToker has a point.
Less than 1% of trafficking cases in the US are through these tactics.
As it turns out, trafficking in persons doesn't typically occur at the hands of a stranger lurking in a parking lot or pulled over at a roadside stop and wait. Nope. According to experts, these criminals are inclined towards an approach that doesn't rely on the element of surprise, forging trust with their targets.
The majority of the time, trafficking victims are willingly going into it. By willingly, I mean manipulated and coerced.
This means these criminals aren't usually unknown to their victim. Rather, they're a friend, a family member, or a romantic partner that can coerce their target into the trade, sometimes even making it feel like their choice.
Most people are trafficked by someone they know. Period.
Typically, a trafficker is going to identify a victim and infiltrate their life. Here's how. They're going to find a need that they can provide to their victim to make that victim trust them. Then with a lot of manipulation, force, and coercion, they get the victim to do exactly what they want. Here's the scary part. Because a trafficker typically infiltrates the victim's life, victims tend to know their traffickers.
As one TikTok user put it, sorry to break the news, but you're far more likely to become a survivor because of your boyfriend than getting kidnapped at a Target. And while traffickers can abduct their victims, more often than not, they prey on those on society's outskirts whose disappearances won't pick up media attention.
It's with unhoused teenagers or teenagers with unstable housing. It's with women coming out of methadone clinics. It's with women of color in neighborhoods that are underfunded and underserved by public transportation, so they are walking home alone at night from a late shift.
Unfortunately, according to experts, the moral panic unfolding online only further clouds the issue to the point that those who are vulnerable aren't the ones who are being protected. Still, some TikTok users find the trafficking PSAs on the app to be useful.
I want you to link the article that interviews every single trafficker, carjacker, basically anybody with malintent, I want you to link the article that interviews every single one of them where they say that this is not a trafficking or, carjacking tactic. Like, if this information could help one person to not get carjacked or trafficked or anything like that, I don't understand what your problem is.
And while story times that suggest these criminals target women at random might contradict what the crime typically looks like, this doesn't mean women shouldn't trust their instincts. See, just because reported incidents of tagging, poisoning, and luring might not be a part of a widespread trafficking conspiracy doesn't mean these interactions can't be incredibly dangerous. After all, these situations often occurred when women were alone, vulnerable, and near a vehicle, the perfect cocktail of circumstances for a criminal to strike.
70% of abductions involve the suspect driving a vehicle, and that's the key. That's how they get away.
Whether it's robbery, abduction, SA, or even a rare instance where trafficking does occur outside of the typical circumstances, it's possible the women from the previously shown videos did sense danger, and the precautions they took saved them from an uncomfortable, traumatizing, or potentially life-threatening encounter. So what can people do to prevent finding themselves in similar situations? Well, while it's impossible to prepare for every scenario, there are steps people can take to feel better protected after parking their car. For example, a couple of the stories we mentioned shared one thing in common: location of the vehicle.
It was dark, obviously, around the holidays, and I had to park far back.
Walking towards my car, which was parked at the back of the gas station.
Parking at the back of a lot is a big no-no according to safety sources that encourage parking as close as possible to a store's entrance. However, if there are no open spots near the front, parking under a lamp that will keep your vehicle well lit is the next best option. And when you return to your vehicle, make sure not to hop in right away. Instead, scan for flat tires and check the back seat and under your car for any stowaways. Most importantly, stay alert. This means having your keys in your hand before you reach your vehicle and not letting your mind wander to distractions.
We want to always have our head on a swivel, constantly looking around. We don't want to be on our phone. We don't want to be listening to music. Get in your car, lock the door, start driving.
And if you find yourself in the worst case scenario where a stranger catches you off guard or approaches you armed, never willingly get in the car with them.
Fight back and run as fast as you can. Your chances of survival if you get in the car and go to a second location decrease significantly. Statistically, an attacker has a 12% chance of actually you, a 6% chance of actually you, a 3% chance of that actually being fatal.
Now, equipped with this knowledge about the red flags to look out for, safety tips, and an understanding of what trafficking looks like, hopefully you can feel more at ease on your next solo excursion. There's no question women experience SA and maltreatment at a staggering rate.
As females, you will never be safe in this world. Even when you think you are the most safe, you never know what could happen.
And just because these crimes are usually perpetrated by an intimate partner, doesn't mean a stranger, given the chance, isn't capable of something just as wicked.
And you always think that would never happen to me until it happens to you.
So while a dimly lit parking lot likely won't put a person at risk of being taken,
it's probably not you in the parking lot of the grocery store in your Kia.
The precautions people take to protect themselves are never without just cause.
It's always better to report something than wait until it's too late.
This is the story of car traps, the rumored criminal tactics that have drivers fearing for their safety.